Greetings. In this video, I'm going to do a run through our next steps in Photoshop, what we're going to be doing with our CAD plans. Just a quick refresher in Photoshop, and I just want to look at these floor plans. So I discussed these floor plans in my in this long workflow video. So there's my review of them is there. So I'm just going to look at them real quick here. And basically, what we want to do is just add some color and/or texture. We want to keep it light and not really overwork the floor plans. They're supposed to be simple. When we glance at them again, we want to see nice dark walls. We want to identify the doors. These doors are kind of drawn pretty goofy. I don't like them, but I think the wood floor is nice. It's not too busy. The gray is nice, and even the amount of furniture is not too bad. Here's a hand. I don't know if it's hand drawn or done in Photoshop or what, but in general, this looks undone to me, the bathroom, but typically the built-in furniture is all white. That's typical, but this is very nice. I think this is a nice light hatch, not too dark, nothing's too distracting. The walls could probably be a little darker, but in general, this is a good looking one as well. So this is from a colleague of ours, Michael Tweed. Has a lot of videos. If you look up Professor Michael Tweed, architect, on YouTube, you could find a lot of great ones. He goes through Photoshop. This one here is nice. This is one of his examples that I pulled off of YouTube. And basically, this is the ultra simple version, but basically a nice, just simple gray color throughout. Again, have the furniture that is permanently attached, not the couches and dining room tables, but the other stuff is all white. You could also make this furniture white as well. I think that would be fine. And then a slightly different color outside. Here's another example. So so before it was pretty good. I'm not sure why these walls aren't dark, but this, I don't like the direction that this one's going at all, actually. I think this floor texture is too busy. It's too intense, kind of distracting. When I glance at this, I don't see where the walls are. In fact, this wall here, these walls have all disappeared. The kind of this level of quasi-realism on the furniture is it just makes it all too busy, and it's hard to read. So I think that's one that's gone wrong. This one's decent. We look quickly, we see all the black walls. The doors have kind of disappeared into the gray. We don't care for that so much. But the furniture looks good, and so it's, and so there's a pretty high level of realism to the carpets and the plants. But it's not too bad. It's not overdone. So I think that's decent. I'm going to bring over some here. So these are some of our student boards. I just want to see what they did in Photoshop. So this is all the CAD work here on the right. So let's zoom in, take a closer look. So kind of on the dark side, definitely. The house is dark. But so these dark walls are unfortunately kind of vanishing inside of that black. So that could have been handled probably a little differently, but this is beautiful. The beautiful pool. I think the grays are all very nice. Just these black floors are a little too much. The trees look good. Section is kept simple, so black where we cut through, a little bit of water, and some materials for the building that's out, the exterior of the building that's beyond. And this one looks good too. Trees are light, silhouettes. Always want people in section. This is a peculiar one. This is like a mirrored box, like a treehouse that's actually like a mirror. Let's zoom in a little bit. So here's the floor plan. So just a little bit of texture. I think that looks good. The gray. So this is a deck. This is it's hard to see. There's a little deck that's in there, kind of surrounded by mirror. So this is like a mirror rail, so this is actual floor, but now this is a mirror top roof that's reflecting the trees above. So very clever. Yeah, so this is what it looks like here. So that would be the right there. We could see the deck. So nicely done. And then here's a section that's just left alone. So some drawings like these could be left alone, but the plans then are grouped. and treated simply but very nicely. This one we saw in the show. Let's just zoom in a little bit. So the floor plans, again, not too much work to the floor plans. This board has enough going on, enough other things going on, that it's nice to keep one part kind of quiet. I think that's a good choice here. So simple, same throughout. We have some tiles for the outside, but otherwise a gray floor throughout, and I think that's just fine the way it is. Walls are nice and dark. So here, nothing was done in CAD. Nothing was done to Photoshop. So here, these plans are all just kept. So they went through Photoshop, probably just kept transparent, printed as PNGs, and then this gradient probably exists in Photoshop or InDesign, and then the plans are just transparent. We could see through to the gradient. So not doing anything to the plans is an option. So here are the plans. These plans, the only way I know to do this, to change the line weights from black to white, is actually to open it in Illustrator and not go through Photoshop. Actually, it's nice. Let's just zoom in a notch. I think the white the white plans could have been a little bit bolder. And I think it would have been nice maybe to hatch the walls so we could see the walls a little bit. It's a little too delicate, I would say, the white. So here, a fair amount of work was done in Photoshop. Let's zoom in a little bit. So actual textures are being put on. So that's decent. So real and very realistic doors. So if you want to take this realism approach, it could be done, but I'm glad that there's a lot of white space as well. I'm glad that the rest is kept very simple. You don't want to overdo it and make it look like a actual real dollhouse that somebody's going to be living in. I think the floors are all done well here. Nice. So this is actually roof. This part. This is the deck. A little bit of texture here. It's a little odd. I don't know if there was a bed there or it disappeared or what. A little bit more. The bed just disappeared in there. This bed's a little too light, but overall, nice, not too distracting. We see the dark walls, so that looks pretty good. Let's take a look at one more. And again, so here they did nothing. So this is the same as the other. Two people did the same project, and neither one of them touched the floor plan. Probably because it's so small, or it's such a big project that it's printed at such a small scale that the color really wouldn't help so much. I think it's just clearer to leave them. So that could be a consideration. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking to do. And now let us go to Photoshop, okay? So let's first go to Google and talk about looking for textures. So it could just be colors from Photoshop, or it could be a texture. So I Googled floor texture detail. We have here wood floor texture and maple. So maple's a very this is a maple. So it has a very soft and kind of gentle kind of wood grain, as opposed to like oak, something with a heavy wood grain. So when you put textures in, you don't want to put in ones that are too dark. You don't want to put in ones that have heavy veins that we could see. Like let's look up. Just duplicate this. Or like let's see, like this here. This is like an oak grain, a heavy oak grain. So you would not want to do that because it doesn't scale very well. Also, sometimes you have to create tiles to put textures together. Or if you would just increase the size of it to cover a whole room, it wouldn't make sense because wood grain can't be that big. So you have to be careful when picking wood grain. Yeah, so maples, ones with kind of more nondescript grains are better, and maple's a good one for that. Okay, so then whichever one, so I already selected a few, so we're just going to come here, then we're going to right-click on it, save the image. It doesn't look like a real piece of wood, but desktop, so let's save that. All right, now let's jump into Photoshop. So I already saved, I opened up two of them already. Let's open up one more, that one I just found. To the desktop, let's see. this is the same one I already have. Okay. I don't know if that's opening or not. So anyway, let's go. So we always start at the same place where we want to check the file size. So image size, because we can't trust just because, and sorry, to circle back one more time. Circle back to the wood grain. So do remember, I didn't walk through that again. I went to Google Images, then I went to Settings, then I went to Advanced Search, and then I put in larger than 2 megapixels. Very important, okay? But we can't trust it just because it's 2 megapixels means that it's print quality. So this one is good. It is over 300, and it is 7 by 3 inches. So your whole floor plan is probably printing at about that size or maybe a little bit bigger, so we have to compare. So this one we could actually turn down to 220, and we could actually gain a little bit of size there. So now we're up to 10 by 5. And we want to make sure that this is unclicked and that these three are working together. So we gave up some resolution to gain some size from this one because it came up at 300. That's often not the case. And then this one, also, let's go back to image size. And this one did not work out. 72 at 7 by 3, so it would not work out. So if we brought this to 220, we have a thumbnail, a 2 by 1 inch thumbnail. So this one is unusable. So when this file gets moved over, it cannot be stretched. That's the deal. When it's at 220, it is at its biggest size. So now let's go and open up a PDF. Looking at Julia's earlier, so let's take a look there. And here it is. Okay, so we have, so this is coming up. So it's basically, this is when you're opening a PDF in Photoshop, this is your one time to set the size and the resolution the way you want it. All right, so she printed at probably 18 by 24, and we'll see closer how it kind of when CAD makes a PDF, or when Photoshop opens up a PDF, it crops it right down to the actual image, which is kind of goofy. But so what was 18 by 24 is now a little bit smaller, and it's at 300. We could just keep it the way it is. And now it opens. And there it is. Okay, so again, image size should read just what we saw, 300, roughly 18 by 22. So we come over here, we always duplicate our layer. This is our background. We could turn off one. This could be the plan. And then we, so it comes up with this, comes up transparent. And that's kind of annoying, or hard to work with at least. But so one way to do it is to flatten it. Flatten the layer. Down the bottom, go to layer, go all the way down to the bottom, flatten image. We don't want to do that. We want to keep this transparent quality when we make a PNG. We might want to use it. So I'm going to go to the rectangle tool, white fill, no stroke, put a rectangle over the whole image. There's my new rectangle layer, bring it down to the bottom. Okay. All right, now let's zoom in. Okay, so now let's get our wood floor over there. So window, arrange, tile all, grab my piece of wood, bring it in. It's about 3 by 7 inches. Window, arrange, consolidate, and let's just zoom out and see how big this thing is. So there is my layer 2. It is the wood floor, and when I'm on that layer I can move this, so it is plenty big. It is plenty big. It's about, the image is the size of the whole floor. So now let's zoom in and put a little wood floor on this third floor sitting area. Okay, so let's just turn that off. And let's do flooring here, 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 and here. We'll aim for all that. Okay, so the thing to keep in mind is that so the floor is actually behind the plan. So the plan is on top. Yes, we want to see the plan on top. Okay, so the thing just to keep in mind is that you want to be on the correct layers. So I am on the plan layer. I will get to my magic wand. That's outside actually. I don't want to include that. So Control D to deselect. That looks good. I will hold the Shift button to add to the selection. All right, so now we have it there. And now I will go to the wood flooring. I will select the inverse. And I will delete. And there it is. Control D and zoom in a little bit. So that looks pretty good. You know, we could see the wood grain, and it's not, you know, it's not believable. It's not real. You know, zooming in where we are right now, we could kind of see some, but I think from a distance, it's pretty subtle, and I don't think it's going to be distracting like a big oak wood grain running all the way through. So I think that's pretty well done there. So just keeping in mind that keeping in mind basically that you're selecting on one layer and moving things to another layer. So that's kind of the moral there. So one thing that is lacking here, so we're missing a door there. So if we want to change things, so we can add to the floor plan. So we very carefully we could draw lines. So underneath the rectangle tool, we could get to the line tool on the actual floor plan, and we could put in so that is with no stroke. That's not what we want. All right, so now we have a little line there, and it's shape 1. So shape 1 is with the shape 1 wants to be really merged with the plan. So if I hold Shift, let's see if I can let these merge these layers, and now that shape is actually on that layer. So that's kind of a quick cheat, so that we could, again, so now we're on plan, and we could get back to our magic wand, and then we could come in here and select that. So like the bathroom floor would not be the same as the hallway carpet probably, or wood floor, or whatever it is. So you might find yourself having to add lines like that. And then we know we could always get into color from there. So we click on our black, we put in a little red, pink color, subtle. And then we want to create new layers for our upcoming floors. So this could be, we could probably, no, I would do these separately probably. If they're going to be treated, again, the benefit of putting on different layers is that we could affect the opacity differently. So if you're going to treat all the floors the same in terms of opacity, then there's a little pink. Then they could be on the same layers. If they need to be treated differently, then it's good to have them on different layers. If they're being treated differently. So here, like, I want to bring that opacity down to about 67. Let's just run back up and see what that wood grain might benefit from bringing the opacity down a little bit. Yeah, I would say so, a little lighter. Okay, so that is the review of, so then just do Control 0. And then in the end, this will be cropped down tighter. We also have the text tool, so we will add the floor plan names. And as I discussed with Julia, this white space between these plans is going to be cut in half. All you really need is just enough room for text. Okay, and then from there, we will continue to save this. We will save this as a PNG, so our working file. So it started as a PDF, but it's going to be saved as a PSD. PSD, a Photoshop document, is what it should be saved as. I'll show this again. I want to save it to my computer. Moving a little slow. And so our master document is a PSD document, and then from there, maybe just save this and finish this thought. Okay, so it's saving pretty quickly, good. And then we can do, then for what's going into InDesign, we could turn off the rectangle and file save as. Then we will go to a PNG. And this will be version 1. There are usually several versions. And then when that goes into InDesign, it will have a transparent background. Okay, thank you and good luck.